What's up, people, and welcome back to the dungeon for another season of Stranger Things in review. This is your Stranger Things Season 4 review slash ranking slash spoiler cast, where I'm gonna just kind of give my initial thoughts and opinions of the season, and then I'll do a full-blown spoiler plot recap. This is the last one, leading into the final season, which is right around the corner. I'll do that one in 3 parts. They're releasing the final season in 3 parts, so I'll do a spoiler cast episode for each one. This is Season 4. I like Season 4 a little bit more than 3. It does some pretty cool stuff. My really only critiques about it is it's way too busy. There's way too much going on, and a lot of the different stories being told, you kind of forget about. They probably could have cut half the characters out of this and nobody would have even noticed. And there's a lot of scene hopping. Way too quickly. Way too much bouncing from this group to that group to this group to this group, and you don't sit long enough in each story to really get comfortable and invested in what's being told. And I don't know. I get it. I feel like they kind of wrote themselves into a corner. They had way too much going on and felt like they needed to give these people enough screen time and those people enough screen time, and there's just a lot of bebopping and bouncing back and forth, and it gets kind of convoluted and messy. But overall, I really like this season. The Freddy Krueger stuff is just unabashedly that's clearly their number one inspiration for this season. They're not shy about it. They beat you over the head with it so much that they cast Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger himself, to cameo in an episode, and that was just perfect. But yeah, Vecna is just straight up Freddy Krueger. I mean, he's even got one hand that's a claw. I mean, but it's very well done and very creepy. Lots of haunting your dreams and nightmares type stuff. So if that sort of vibe scares you, this season is gonna really get in your brain and tear things up. The themes that I noticed that are really thick in this season: bullying, like being bullied. A lot of 80s stuff played with that theme. Karate Kid, for example. We explore just the differences between people, how as you grow, you get into the teenage years, you start to drift apart. You start to change. What you liked, you don't like anymore, and sometimes those differences change you, and sometimes you drift apart. We get repressed memories and lots of bottling up feelings and depression, really dark, serious themes like that. But yeah, essentially we get to avoid spoilers, we get reintroduced with the kids and where they're at now. They've made it to high school, and when you get to high school, things really start to change. You're presented with new options and opportunities, and some want to do this, and some want to do that, and some want to just be the same forever. And like I said, it makes you, a lot of times it makes you drift apart. But yeah, all that said, that's going to do the initial thoughts. Just quick, what I think about the season. from here, we're going to get into full-blown spoiler territory. So if you're, for some reason, not watched Season 4, and you don't want to know what happens with the finale right around the corner, feel free to click off, maybe come back later. But from here on out, full-blown spoilers. I'm going to recap the entire plot. So, all that said, here we go. So, we get a flashback scene of Dr. Brenner, and we are introduced to all the other kids in the program. There's lots. I mean, we pretty well knew there was 11 of them at least, but it keeps going. I think there's like a 12 and a 13. It definitely goes into the teens. But we get introduced to all these other kids, and they've all got some sort of powers or another. Some are clearly more gifted than others. But yeah, we get a flashback scene here where Brenner is talking to one of these kids, and he's testing his telepathy, asking him questions about what he sees, and he's pretty well just knocking it out of the park. Alarm starts going off, and something bad's going down. Brenner makes his way down the hall. There's dead bodies everywhere. He walks into a room, more dead bodies, and we see a young 11 standing there. Looking younger than ever. Just little kid 11. Buzz cut and everything. Turns around and her eyes are bleeding and she's real ticked off. And Brenner's like, "What did you do?" And we're like, "Whoa." But we mosey over to sunny California, where 11 is narrating a note that she's written to Mike, and she's talking about how everything's great. They're all super happy and they're loving it there, and she's happy and things are going great at school, and Joyce has a new job as a telemarketer, and Will's real weird and he's drawing something all the time and he won't let anybody see it, and he's just creepier and weirder than ever. But she's super lying. Like, nobody's happy. Joyce is still super bummed out about Hopper, and 11's being picked on a daily basis, just being bullied. Real bad. Like, Daniel LaRusso would be proud, or maybe not proud, but totally understand. Also, 11's powers, gone. Just straight up gone. Can't do anything anymore. She's just a normal kid now. Hop is, in fact, alive. Locked up in a Russian prison. He won't give them any information. They keep asking him stuff, and he's just, classic Hopper style, telling them to get bent. Max is just super duper brooding. Just like, more so than your typical teenage girl. Just angry. Ultra angry all the time. She broke up with Lucas. She's living in a trailer park because I guess when Billy died, the dad, left and just kind of gave Max and her mom the boot. So they had to move into this really down in the dumps, down on your luck trailer park. And so she's going through it, and she's not having a good time. Just always walking around with her headphones on, just listening to that Walkman. Dustin and Mike have continued being nerds, and they've joined a D&D club at school called the Hellfire Club. Hellfire Club was a X-Men group, like evil mutant type group for, super nerds. That's where that title originally came from. But it's led by a kid named Eddie, and Eddie is probably like 25 years old. Not real sure, but he's been held back before because he pretty much says so. But he talks about how this year is gonna be the year of Eddie. Everything's gonna work out for him finally. We're introduced to Joseph Quinn's character, and just immediately the charisma of this character is great. He's got an energy to him, and we're here for it. We're introduced to a girl, a cheerleader, and she's not having a great time. She's dealing with some stuff, and she's being haunted by something that we never really see, but it's creepy, and she doesn't care for it very much. She actually cares for it so little that she goes to Eddie for drugs, because everybody knows Eddie's the go-to guy for feel-good substances and whatnot. So she goes to Eddie for a little something to take the edge off, and he's like, well, I keep the real good stuff at home. So she follows him back there to his trailer, which, you know, kind of weird, but I guess she's that desperate. And he goes to the back room to find whatever it is she's wanting, some sort of prescription pills or something. And while he's digging around looking for that, she slips into a trance. Just a full-blown, like, hallucination, daydream type of thing. And he comes out and finds her standing there, just eyes rolled back in her head and twitching. And she floats up into the air, and all her limbs snap one by one like twigs, and then her eyes just kind of back into her socket, and she falls down lifeless, and just like when you blow a balloon up and then you let all the air out, and it's just kind of like all gross and weird and floppy, flaccid, if you will, if I can use that word. So he freaks out for obvious, understandable reasons, and he hits the road. He gets out of there. Joyce gets a package in the mail, opens it up, and it's a letter mentioning Hopper, basically telling her that he's alive, and if she wants him back, she's got to deliver X amount of money, basically a ransom note. So that's weird, and not shady at all. Nancy's working for the school newspaper. She's just a regular old Thelma from Scooby-Doo. She's out there just investigating stuff and trying to get to the bottom of everything. Nancy Drew, if you will. But she's hanging out with a nerdy kid whose name just happens to be Fred. And then we've got Eddie. So what happens when you combine Fred and Eddie? Freddy. Fred. You see what I'm playing with here. Anyway, not a big deal. They mosey over to the trailer park where the police are investigating, and she's wanting to get some juice, get some knowledge and some tidbits, some 411, if you will. And nerdy kid wanders off, and he starts tripping out and seeing things and losing his marbles. Sees a grandfather clock, and that's real creepy. That's a ongoing thing that keeps happening throughout this season. And by the time this season was over, I was kind of weirdly in love with grandfather clocks. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah, grandfather clock. It's a thing. So nerdy kid gets whacked. Same thing like Chrissy, the cheerleader, just float up in the sky, arms and legs get broke, eyes get sucked out of his head. Pretty weird stuff. This Freddy cosplayer is really just knocking the kids of Hawkins out one by one. Jonathan and Nancy are not okay. Not okay at all. You know, living on opposite ends of the country will do that to you, but he was supposed to go to a school closer to her, and he didn't. He instead applied at a completely different college, and he's been lying to her about it because he, you know, doesn't want to disappoint her or upset her. And a thing I've learned about women, they really like being lied to, so that'll probably work out real well for him. So Mike comes to visit Elle in Cali, and again, she's just trying to play like everything is aces, everything's wonderful, and Will's like, why are you lying? Like, why are you lying to him? Just tell the truth. And she's like, whatever, I don't know what you're talking about, shut up, everything's great. And so they go to the skating rink where they're just gonna have a great time, and Will's completely miserable. And he's there just being a great third wheel, as always. They're skating around, and they just happen to run into Eleven's bullies that always pick on her every day at school. She introduces them as her friends. They take her out on the skating rink, and they they dump a drink on her and make fun of her and knock her down and just really break her heart. And Mike goes out there to her rescue. And this kid, just as he gets older, yikes, is all I can say. But anyway, he's there, and she likes him for some reason, and he picks her up and saves the day and takes her back and sits her down, and Will's like, hey, Mike, just so you know, things aren't great. Everything's awful, and she's been lying to you, and she's miserable. She's being picked on all the time, and 11 kind of has a full-blown freak-out moment where she goes kind of Hulk. Says she can't use her powers. She does the next best thing where she walks by and grabs some random kid's skate off their foot and walks up to the bully girl. I can't remember her name. We'll just call her Bully Betty. But she walks up and says her name, and as soon as she spins around, she clocks her right in the forehead with this skate, just as hard as she can, just hammer fists her right in the melon. And she goes down, and she's just been split wide open and starts squirting blood everywhere, and everybody's staring at 11 like she's just a homicidal maniac, because maybe she is. We don't know. That's what happens when you push somebody too far. So Dustin goes to recruit Steve, as always, because they're homies, and it's just always adorable. Yeah, he gets Steve, and Robin's there too, because they're just like a package deal now. They're just a buddy cop that are just always palling around together. They're like Batman and Robin, basically. But Dustin recruits them, and they go looking for Eddie, because Dustin's like, there's no way he did this. He's innocent, and I'm gonna prove it. Burke is back. Dr. Blanking on his name. Owens? Dr. Owens from season 2. Paul Reiser's character, he's back. Bad guy military shows up at his house, and they kick his door in, and they're like, hey, stuff's going down in Hawkins, and we know your weird little guinea pig, your weird science project is behind it, and you're gonna tell us where she is. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so they get pissy and leave. He's like, uh-oh, maybe I should do something about this. The cops don't arrest 11 there at the scene of the crime where she bludgeoned a girl almost to death with a roller skate, and everyone watched her do it. They let her go home, and once they get home, then they show up and arrest her, which is all very strange. But while they're driving her to jail, the feds pull the police convoy over, and they take 11 into custody, and it's Owens. And he takes her out to eat, and he lays it all out on the table for her. He's like, hey, stuff's going down. Your friends are in trouble. You're the only one that can save them. We need your superpowers. And she's like, I hate to break it to you, but I'm just a normal kid, just being picked on and everything. And no superpowers for you. And he's like, well, what if I knew how you could get them back? And she's like, I'm listening. Joyce gets a hold of Murray. Remember Murray, the weird conspiracy nut guy from seasons 2 and 3? The guy with the just horrible balding thing going on and the giant glasses and all the weird conspiracies about JFK and the Loch Ness Monster. That guy. She gets him to come over, and she shows him the package and the note and everything. And he's like, well, it's obviously some sort of scam or something. And she's like, I don't care. I'm calling this number, and I'm gonna save Hopper. If there's a chance he's alive, I'm gonna do anything to get him back, because if it wasn't obvious, Joyce loves Hopper and Hopper loves Joyce. Murray's like, you better not do it. And she's like, shut up, I'm doing it. So she calls the number, and he's like, hey, don't stay on the phone for very long, and don't give out too much private information, because I guarantee you the KGB's listening, and we don't need any of that, because this is right here in the middle of the 80s, and we are into it with Russia all the time, and we don't need that heat. That smoke, as the kids say. So anyway, she calls the number, some guy answers, and they have a little quick conversation where he's like, yeah, he's totally alive, and I've got access to him, and I can get him to you, but you're gonna have to fly out here and meet me and deliver the money and do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. She's like, I'll do it. I don't care. I'll do anything. And he's like, cool. See you then. Nancy goes over to the courthouse, and it looks exactly like the courthouse from Back to the Future, the clock tower and everything. Like, I think it's the same one. I swear by it. Maybe not, but I'm saying it is. Max, Dustin, and Steve are out there trying to find clues and piece together the mystery and figure out what's going on and why. Nancy and Robin are palling around together out there, combing the mean streets of Hawkins, trying to find clues and figure out what's going on and why. Lots of detective work going on in this season. It feels very Sherlock Holmes-ish. Hopper bribes one of the dudes. He's one of his fellow prisoners. He gives him his lunch, his bread and soup, I guess, whatever slop they're eating. He gives him his food, and he's like, in exchange, I want you to break my foot. And the guy's like, you're nuts. And he's like, hit me with the thing, with the pickaxe. And he's like, I'll break your foot. And he's like, just do it. And he's like, okay, crazy American. And so they're out there like building a railroad out there, just hammering giant railroad spikes into the ground. And the guy sees his opportunity, and he just whacks Hopper's foot real good several times. And then we cut back to the prison where Hopper's in his cell, and his foot is literally broken and just kind of dangling, but he's walking around on it just fine somehow. But he takes the ankle shackle off of his foot because it's just a limp noodle now, and it's a very disgusting scene, and I always have to look away because it's gross. So Nancy and Robin go to the local mental health facility, we'll call it. In my day, we just call it a nut house or a loony bin, but I'm sure that's probably offensive in today's world, so we'll just say mental health facility. And they want to talk to Victor Creel, who they've heard rumors around town that he might be the bad guy. He might be to blame for what's going on somehow. He's done this stuff before. And so they go and they find him, and it's a scene that's straight out of Silence of the Lambs, as far as like the props and the shooting and the blocking and everything, the way the scene's shot, and just like the look of everything. It's straight out of Silence of the Lambs. She might as well be talking to Hannibal Lecter. But dude stands up and turns around, and it's no other than Robert Englund himself, Freddy Krueger. He's here, and it's the Duffers just shoving in your face that this season is so Freddy Krueger. But he tells the story of the house that he and his family lived in, and everything was great at first, and things started going horrible, and it kind of gives off super duper like Amityville vibes. Everybody starts experiencing weird stuff, and he finally got fed up with everything, and he was going to try and get his family out of there. And the mom, well, she just floated up into the air, and all her arms and legs got broke, and her eyes got sucked back in her skull like it was being vacuum sealed. And he collapsed, and when he woke up, he was in jail for murder because his kids were dead, and his wife was dead, and everybody's dead, and everything's bad, and he's been locked up ever since. Oh, and he cut his own eyes out for some reason. So that's a fun scene. Love seeing Freddy, just for a second. Robert Englund's he's just a gem, a treasure, if you will. The school counselor, psychiatrist, whatever you want to call her, she's been seeing all the victims, all the kids that have been dying. She's been talking to them all. They've been going to her for help, and we learn that Max has been going to her too. So what does that mean? We find out pretty quick. Max is in the crosshairs of whatever is going on because she starts to see stuff too. Some feds show up at Will's house, Will and Jonathan's. They're gonna keep an eye on him and protect him, keep him safe. But then bad guy military show up, and there's a shoot off, and they manage to hop in the pizza van of Jonathan's buddy Argyle. Argyle's the Cheech and Chong character of this season that I feel like we really don't need, but he's there for comic relief, even though it gets old and lame and boring pretty quick. It's like, it's this stoner character that's, I guess, still supposed to be funny because he's always stoned, haha. But yeah, they hop in the van and they manage to escape and get out of there. But one of the bodyguard guys got shot in the gut and he's dying, and they're trying to get him to tell them what to do or how they're supposed to find 11, and he hands him a pen, and then he dies. And they're like, well, that sucks. Why wouldn't he just tell us? Like, why wouldn't he just tell us? And then they take the pen apart, and there's like a thing inside it that tells them what number to call. So they call the number, and they get some directions, and they hit the road, and they're gonna go find 11. So the crew's been they've dubbed this mysterious bad guy that's haunting everybody. They've dubbed him Vecna, because I guess Vecna is a huge end-all, be-all bad guy in D&D. I don't know, I've never played Dungeons & Dragons, but I guess Vecna's a big deal. So they've started calling the Freddy Krueger character Vecna. And Vecna has started haunting Max. So that kind of sucks. We learn that once you start having the bad dreams and this guy starts showing up and giving you a hard time, your days are numbered. Like, it's a time bomb situation. The clock's a-ticking, and you got X amount of time to figure out how to stop things and save the day, or you're gonna die. So that kind of sucks. Max isn't super thrilled about that. Oh, the mental health facility, sanitarium, if you will. It's another callback to Freddy, because Freddy was the bastard son of 1,000 maniacs or whatever. Like, that's some backstory that we get in Nightmare on Elm Street 4? Definitely 5. Maybe a little bit in 3, but we find out that his mom was raped. She was a nurse at an insane asylum, and she was somehow accidentally locked inside, and she was raped again and again and again by the inmates, the convicts, the patients, prisoners, whatever you want to call them. They had their way with her, and she ended up pregnant with Freddy. So, anyway, the point of that random backstory is this is another, I feel, little callback to the Freddy films. So Joyce and Murray meet Yuri. This shady character they're going to be their pilot. He's the guy that's supposed to take them to Russia to save Hopper. They make their way to Alaska. They meet Yuri, and he's a character. He's got just very inappropriate jokes and just keeps making everybody uncomfortable and then laughing way too hard at his own weirdness, and we kind of just fall in love with him, even though he's just creepy AF. So Hopper, with his broken foot, he sees an opportunity while they're out working on the railroad to there's just happens to be a shack nearby, so he runs in the shack, takes his boot off, and slips the ankle cuff off of his wet noodle of a foot, and a guard comes in there to see what's going on, and he beats the hell out of him, and there's a fight scene, and some gunshots go off, which alerts the other guards, and they come to investigate, and Hopper's managed to escape out a window on the backside of the shack, and he's left a stick of dynamite lit. There just happens to be dynamite in the building. Seems pretty convenient, but anyway, it's there. He lights that and jumps out the window, and it goes off and blows everybody up, and he hops on a snowmobile that just happens to be there, which is also really convenient, but it's fine. We're into the scene, so we overlook it. And he takes off up the hill, and they're shooting at him, and it's a whole, like, super cool 80s action movie scene. But yeah, they're shooting. He manages to make it to the tree line, and he escapes, and everything's great, and we're like, yay, Hopper. Hopper manages to make it to a little town, and he makes it to a little church, and he goes up in the little church, and it just happens to be like a hideout, or like somebody's been hoarding supplies there or something. It's pretty weird vibe. There just happens to be lots of jars of peanut butter and like a little cot with a blanket nearby, and anyway, he's eating peanut butter out of the jar with his fingers, and he's crying about it because I guess he's been starving to death forever, and he's lost a lot of weight. We get a scene later on where we see how much weight he's lost, but if we remember, in Season 3, Hop had got pretty thick. He could have cosplayed as Santa that year and just knocked it out of the park, is all I'm saying. But this Hopper, he could have won that season of Biggest Loser, for sure. But anyway, he's eating the peanut butter, and he's crying, and he's feeling great about being free, and then he hears a ruckus outside, and he looks out the window, and the cops are there. They somehow found him. And they kick the door in, and they arrest him again. And we're like, what the hell's going on? How is this happening? We find out pretty quick that Yuri's a traitor. He roofies Joyce and Murray and knocks them out, and he ties them up and throws them in his plane, and he takes off to Russia, and he calls his buddy, the cop guard there at the Russian prison that's been the guy that Joyce has been talking to on the phone that's demanding this ransom or whatever, and turns out he sold him out too, because the guards arrest that guy and they throw him in jail with Hopper, and they wake up and they look at each other and they're like, well, shit. This is a problem, isn't it? So Nancy and Robin get caught. They get found out that they get made, if you will. They've been lying about their credentials and who they are, what they're doing at the crazy house, the loony bin, the sanitarium. The head honcho there finds out that they're lying, and they try to catch them and arrest them, and they take their heels off and start running, and it's a whole funny scene. We get a scene where Max is at Billy's grave, and she's decided that her days are numbered. Her time is up. She's up the creek, if you will. And she just does not have a paddle. So she's wrote a bunch of notes, and she's dropping them off to people, letting everybody know her feelings, since she's just wildly depressed and repressed, and she's not great at communicating how she feels. So she's wrote her feelings down, and she's given letters to this person and that person and basically everybody in her life, seems like. And she goes to Billy's grave to read the note that she wrote for him. It's a very touching scene, and Sadie Sink just kills the acting and makes me cry every time. She's so believable. But it's in this moment that I personally feel that Max becomes the main character of the show. Like, it's been 11. I feel like 11 is just kind of a side story, a B plot, if you will. Like, I don't know. I lost interest in 11. And Max kind of takes the reins and takes over as far as the leading lady of the show, as far as I'm concerned. And I think it starts right here with this scene. But yeah, she's reading this letter, and stuff starts to go weird. The sky gets dark, and Vecna's here, and he's gonna get her. And she floats up in the sky, and we're like, no, surely not. You're not gonna kill Max. And we learn that somehow that music is the key. Music that the person, the victim, really, really connects with, that makes them feel good, makes them feel safe, security blanket. It's kind of an anchor, and it can ground them to reality. So they they find Max's favorite song, which just happens to be that Running Up the Hill or whatever by Kate Bush, and it snaps her out of her freaky deaky funk, and she falls back to earth, and she's back. And whoa, that was a close one. Surely that's over, and nothing like that's gonna happen again. They have a celebration moment where they're all hugging and they're like, yay, everything's great, but things are not great. But while Max was in the nightmare world or whatever, she finds some of the other victims, the other kids that got killed by Vecna, and they're kind of like cocooned. And they look straight up like the victims that are cocooned in Aliens. It's just some more like callbacks to other 80s horror, sci-fi type stuff that the Duffers clearly got inspiration from, because they're just cocooned and slimed to these pillars, and all just grotesque and zombified, and it just, as soon as I see them, I'm like, I think of Aliens. So Owens takes 11 out into the middle of nowhere in the desert, and they find just it looks like an outhouse, and they go in there, and it's an elevator, and it goes down into the secret underground facility, because why not? And they get in there and they start walking around, and he's introducing them to everybody, which is kind of weird. And he's like, they're thrilled, they're glad to be a part of this, blah blah blah. And then we hear a voice, and she turns around and looks, and who's there? It's Papa. He's alive. We thought that dude was dead, right? It super duper looked like he got eaten by a demigorgon in the first season. But nope, that was just a psych out. Ha! We got you. Here he is. He's back. And she's like, nope. And she turns around to leave, and they kind of grab her, and they're like, if you want to save your friends, this is the only way. You gotta work with me again as daughter and Papa. And she's like, well, shit. All right, fine. So 11 wakes up, and she's got her buzz cut back, because I kind of feel like, I don't know, maybe the Duffers felt like they kind of started to lose the audience with season 3, and with this one, they're like, how do we get them back? Let's give them some nostalgia. Let's try to give them back some things that they loved about the first season. So here's 11. She's back, and she's got the short hair. You liked her with the short hair, right? Here she is. She's back. She's got a buzz cut, and you like that, right? She's got the hospital gown back on and everything. But she's too tall, she's too big now, you don't jive with that? Well, that's all right, we'll do some deep fake stuff, and here's little kid 11 again. I don't know, they do some fast and loose playing with time jumps, and this is a memory, but it's not, and they put her in this deprivation chamber thing that has TV screens inside it. And I'm like, isn't the whole point of the depth chamber to remove all sensations? So what's the point if you just got like half a dozen very bright TV screens in my face? And also, if I go to sleep and close my eyes, I'm not looking at those screens anyway, so what is the point of them being there? Very weird, some things that happen in these particular scenes. But anyway, she starts traveling back in time in her memories, because they think that the key to her powers is locked up in there. She's repressed some traumatic events that went down when she was a patient in the hospital. She was totally a prisoner in a laboratory. She was a lab rat. That's what she was. But anyway, we know that. But it's time for her to remember what went down. And when she remembers that stuff, it's going to unlock her force powers, and she'll be Darth Vader again. So she gets in there in her mind, and she's digging around, and we meet this orderly character that I guess existed when she was there with all these other kids. There's this blonde dude, and he's just weird. He looks weird, and he acts even weirder. And it's very strange, just all of this. So we cut back to Jonathan and Mike and them, which I constantly forget are even in this season. Their story is like I don't know. I feel like the Duffers were like, well, we've got these characters and we have to pay these actors. So we got to do something with them. So we'll write them into a scene here and there and be like, they still exist. They're still out there doing stuff that you're supposed to care about. They're looking for 11, and this stoner character's still stoned, and that's funny, right? Haha. But anyway, they're out there, and they choose this one junkyard in all of the desert to bury the dead federal agent. And it kind of seems like a bad location to bury a body. Maybe in the middle of the desert would be better if you want to, want the body to not be found, if you want to not be found out that you were involved in any of this. Maybe don't bury the body in the most conspicuous location there is for miles. But anyway, they bury the guy there. Jonathan and Argyle are freaking out. Everybody's freaking out, and every time they start freaking out, they just get good and stoned, and we're just supposed to keep laughing at it. Mike's kind of boo-hooing to Will about how he feels useless, and he messed everything up with 11, and Will's still acting weird. We get Hopper's backstory about his daughter, and about how when just his like entire life, almost, it goes back to like him talking about how he joined the military and how they went to Nam, and they were mixing up Agent Orange and doing all this, and then he came back from the war, and him and his wife had their daughter, and his exposure to these chemicals and this radiation and all this stuff is probably why she got cancer and died. And he's just talking about all these heartbreaking, tragic things, and David Harbour's acting is just always on point and just really, really tugs at your heartstrings. He's talking about how he used to think that he was cursed, but now he's realized that he is the curse, and that he just destroys everything and everyone that gets close to him. And I think why it always hits me so hard is I can relate to that. I feel that so hard. Like, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I feel that way a lot of times. And so when you can relate to a character, what they're saying and doing just hits you on a whole different, like, personal level. So we've been introduced to the jocks, as I like to call them, of this season. Lucas has decided to join the basketball team. That's kind of what's caused him to be ostracized from the rest of the group. He he wanted to be a cool kid. He was tired of being made fun of and picked on and bullied and being a loser, so he joined the ball team. And the other jocks are awful. The main jock, blonde kid, I'm kind of blanking on his name right now, but he's a super duper, like, people person, always grabbing the microphone and going on these long speeches and at pep rallies and stuff, and really amping up the crowd, talking up the audience. One of those types. Leader, I guess you would probably call him. But the jocks have taken it as their personal mission, their responsibility, to find Eddie and bring him to justice, because the main jock guy was dating Chrissy. Chrissy was the cheerleader that got whacked by Vecna, but everybody thinks Eddie did it because she was there in Eddie's house, and he was there with her, and the town doesn't believe in monsters that kill you in your dreams, so they think Eddie did it, and the jocks are out there to catch him. and Lucas is running around with them, kind of secretly, like as a double agent, trying to get information back to Dustin and Steve and that crew. And the jocks keep getting closer and closer to finding him, and Lucas is trying to help the good guys out from the inside. But one of the jocks is next in Vecna's crosshairs. He starts seeing stuff and hearing stuff and having delusions and tripping out. And just as they're about to catch Eddie, this jock flies up in the sky, arms and legs break, eyes get sucked out, and he's super dead. And we're like, whoa, what's going on? That's crazy. So Dustin and Steve and crew, they find Eddie, and he's freaking out, you know, for understandable reasons. He saw a girl, you know, die in front of him in probably the most horrible way you can imagine, and the whole town wants his head on a platter. So he's a little worried, a little panic-stricken, if you will. So Steve and Dustin and crew are trying to find a way to keep Eddie hidden, keep him safe from the town, while at the same time trying to catch the real culprit, great word. So Steve's crew investigates what I can only call the It house, the creepy house from the movie It. Pretty sure it's the same house. Definitely the vibe the Duffers were going for. This is the house that belonged to Victor Creel, where all of this started. So they go there, and they're messing around, and Max finds the grandfather clock, and she's like, "That's weird. This is the same clock from my nightmares." And they're like, "Huh, there's definitely a connection here for sure." Robin just keeps being weirder and weirder in this season, which is kind of strange because, like, in season 3, she's like super smart. Like, she's the one that solves everything. Like when they get the Russian signal, she's the one that's like, "Hey, that's Russian." She interprets it. She makes sense out of all the puzzles and solves all the mysteries and leads them to the secret underground Russian spy base. Like, that was all Robin. Dustin and Steve were just kind of there. But she did all the legwork, and then in this season, they just make her a complete idiot, it seems like. Like, she's just the butt of every joke in every scene she's in. She's just kind of tripping over her own feet and being stupid, and it's kind of sad. So we get a call back to season 1, where they learn that they can follow the lights to lead them to clues, just like in season 1, how Joyce was using the Christmas lights to communicate with Will. So they're using the lights, and that's fun. Just a fun, hey, remember this thing you liked about season 1? Just another callback, another nostalgia pull, but it works. Makes me happy. Joyce and Murray on the plane. Yuri is flying them to Russia. He's got them hog-tied. He's going to turn them in to the military there for a huge payout, a reward for catching the traitors. But Murray manages to get loose, and he lets Joyce know that he's been studying karate. So we get just a straight up Karate Kid scene here, where him and Yuri square off. Murray and Yuri, but they square off in the middle of the plane, and you might be like, who's flying the plane? Nobody. Just nobody. You can do that in a plane. But they start fighting it out in the cargo hold, and Murray just beats the other living out of him, and it's great. Probably one of my favorite moments of this entire season, Murray's Karate Kid fight scene. But yeah, they knock out Yuri, and then they realize a little too late that the pilot is now concussed, and neither one of them know how to fly a plane. So, wouldn't you know it, plane crash lands. Again, so much scene hopping, and it hops so quickly between scenes that it's almost jarring. You don't spend long enough in each scene to really invest yourself or your feelings in what's going on. Like, and your head's spinning because you're trying to remember what's going on over here. Oh yeah, we're over here now. Now we're back over here, and now this is going on. And it's a lot. But we're back to the It house with Steve's crew. They're following the lights. They go up to the attic, and all their flashlights are freaking out, and they're like, this is weird. I bet he's here. I bet he's here, but he's not like here. What does that mean? Probably the upside down. So they put together, he's over there in this house, but we can't get to him because 11 was the only one that could open up the gates and stuff, and they've sealed the gates, so we don't have access to the upside down. So what are we going to do? Elle keeps taking trips down memory lane, slowly remembering more and more about what went down in the lab back in the day. And she learns that the creepy blonde orderly guy, she finally learns that he is number 1. She's 11, right? We met number 8 back in season 2 in a weird throwaway episode that didn't even belong in the show, really, I feel like. But anyway, we meet number 1. It's this guy. And he's got a chip in his neck that nerfs his powers. But he convinces 11 that he's on her side and he's gonna help her to escape, but he can't do it with this darn chip in his neck. If only somebody could take that out. So she mind powers that thing right out of there, and as soon as she does it, he's full-blown Darth Vader, and he goes on a mission through the building just killing everybody. And she hears the ruckus, and she goes to investigate, and she finds him, and he's standing there in the rainbow room, they call it. It's like the room where all the kids hang out with all kinds of fun games and puzzles and stuff to do. And she finds him standing there in the middle of all these dead bodies, all these bloody dead children, because he just aneurysmed everybody to death. And she's real pissed off about it. She's like, hey, you tricked me, mister. And he's like, join me, and together I will complete your training. You don't know the power of the dark side. And she's like, I'll never join you. And anyway, they have a mind power showdown, and he smacks her around some, and she doesn't like it very much, and she gets real pissed off, and we know what happens when 11 gets pissed off. So she mind powers him into a wall, just like she did the Demogorgon at the end of season 1, and she screams real loud, and the wall starts to glow, and this guy, whose name was Blondie, we'll just call him Blondie. I don't know. It says his name, but I don't guess I ever cared enough to remember it. So Blondie, he starts to scream because I'm guessing it sucks to be turned into just ash, to just be disintegrated from the inside out. But yeah, she does that and leaves behind a crack in the wall with weird vines twitching and twisting and twirling and other T words I can't think of off the top of my head. And about that time, Dr. Brenner comes in the door, and all he sees is 11 standing there in the middle of all this chaos. So of course he blames her. He thinks she did it. And that's how this season started, with this scene. And we're like, we've come full circle. Everything makes sense now. And we cut back to the death chamber where 11's in there in the real world, in modern times, in today, like the now. And she's screaming, and the lights are flashing, and everything's going crazy. And she gets out of there, and they're like, well, did it work? And she stands up, and she walks over to the depth tank, and she does her thing, and the umpteen 1,000-pound tank lifts up in the air, and we're like, yeah, she's back. And not a moment too soon, because this monster's back here in your hometown just wrecking shop, and you better get out there and save it and do your superhero thing. Jason, the lead jock guy, his name is Jason. Some more nods to other 80s horror stuff. We got a Jason Voorhees callback. So we get a scene here where the Hawkins PD, they're interrogating the kids, asking them all these questions, and every cop just has a mustache, and it's just such an 80s cop thing. With just cops with their mustaches. I don't get it. It's never been a good look as far as I'm concerned. The deputy, I always blank on his name, but he's just straight up Egon. Like, with the glasses and the crazy hair, just looks exactly like Egon from Ghostbusters. It cracks me up. So the bad feds are torturing the good feds, like the bodyguards that were protecting Mike and Will and them. They got a hold of one of them, and they're torturing him real good. They're trying to get answers from him. They're like, hey, well, you know Owens has 11, and you're going to tell us where they're at. And he's like, nope. And they just keep on torturing him. And it's kind of reminds me of the scene in Rambo, First Blood 2, where they've got Rambo strapped to like a bed spring, and they just keep shocking him. Mike's crew needs to decipher a location. They've got the info that they need to find where 11 is at, but they can't make heads or tails of it. And they're like, well, there's one person that we can think of that might be smart enough to figure this out. Who's that? That's right, Susie. From season 3. Susie was Dustin's girlfriend that none of them believed that he had until the very end. And then they did a duet version of the theme from Neverending Story, and that moment made season 3 watchable for me. But yeah, anyway, they go to see Susie, and they get there, and they go up in this house, and it's just anarchy. It's like the movie Animal House. It's just nuts. Kids are literal cavemen. They're naked and covered in mud, and they're shooting arrows at people, and it's insanity. And they're like, what is happening? And there's no parents anywhere, and it's like pretty much any household in today's world. But anyway, they finally find Susie, and she's like, hey guys, what's going on? And they're like, we need your help. And she's like, sure, but I got grounded from my computer because I did something. And my dad punishes me, but apparently literally nobody else in this house. So they sneak into her dad's office, and they use his computer, and she narrows down the coordinates, and she does this and that, and it's like that movie War Games. But she's like, here's the address. This is where she's at. Go get her, boys. And they're like, thanks, Susie. And it's all weird. And Argyle's back in the van smoking dope again, and we're like, ha ha ha, this guy, he's just this one-note character, and we're still laughing about it. There's like a quick, super vague, blink and you'll miss it reference to 8. But again, it's just like that character was pointless, because here we are toward the end of the 4th season, and we've still not seen her again. We've not hardly mentioned her again, aside from this one reference where we're like, that was when 8 was still here. But that's it. It's just always weird to me. Like, I don't know if that actress did something and got in trouble in the real world, and they were like, we're gonna write her out of the show. But very strange. So Dustin, they're kind of getting turned around. They're trying to, like I said, they're trying to keep Eddie safe, so they're roaming around out in the woods, and they're doing this and that, and Dustin remembers that a compass will always point to true north unless there is a strong magnetic field nearby. So they're like, what does that mean? And he's like, a gate. Last time this happened to us, there was a gate in Hawkins, and that was throwing the compass off. So if our compass is being knocked out of whack, maybe there's a gate nearby. So they go to investigate, and sure enough, there's a gate. But, wouldn't you know it, it just happens to be in the bottom of the lake. So they paddle out there, and Steve takes off his shirt, and Nancy's looking at him like he's a piece of steak, and she's just a starving wolf. And we're like, wow. So things are a whole lot worse between her and Jonathan than we even realized. Because she's just hungry for Steve. And we start thinking, you know what? Do we want them to get back together? Maybe we want them to get back together. We're not sure yet. We'll sit on it for a little bit and think about it for a while, but maybe. But anyway, Steve strips down and he jumps in the lake and he paddles down to the bottom, and sure enough, there's a gate down there. He aerials his way back to the surface and comes up and does that cool thing with his hair that Ariel always did in Little Mermaid. And there's like some pretty music playing, and now none of those things happen. But he comes up and he tells them in the boat, he's like, hey, yeah, there's a gate down there. It's crazy. And about that time, something grabs him and pulls him under, and everybody's panicking, and he's got a vine wrapped around his ankles, and it pulls him down and pulls him through the gate and spits him out in the upside down. And there's no lake here. It's just a big dried out crater, and spits him out, and he gets out, and that was kind of crazy. And he looks around, and there's a freaking bat flying around, and that's weird too. And back in the real world on the boat, one by one, our crew is like, well, I guess we're going for a swim. So they start bailing overboard and swimming down and through the hole and into the upside down, and they're all over here now. And then the bats show up, and there's a whole bat scene where they're all fighting bats, and Steve goes kind of crazy and just like straight up Bruce Banner hulks out and takes a bat by the tail and does that thing that Hulk did to Loki at the end of the first Avengers movie, where he just kind of smacks it back and forth on the ground, and then he's like, puny god. Remember that? But the Nancy and Robin and Eddie are all looking at Steve like, damn, man, are you okay? Joyce and Murray are camped out just outside of the crashed plane, and they've got Yuri tied up there against a tree, and they've got him gagged because they've listened to him talk enough. They can't tolerate any more of his yapping. So they pull out a map, and they're like, where's the prison at? Tell us. And he points at it with his nose, and it's funny. And then we cut back over to the prison where Hopper starts a fight with his buddy, the guard, that wanted the ransom, that was going to try and get him rescued for money, and then he was caught and he was thrown in jail with him, that guy. Hopper picks a fight with him, and then the guards get involved, and it was all a ruse to get a lighter. He stole a lighter from one of these guards in the midst of the ruckus, and he tells them what they're up against. It's basically like a gladiator arena type vibe. Like they're gonna throw them in this pit and make them fight this monster. They're gonna have to battle this thing, and this particular monster is afraid of fire. So we have fire now. It's also kind of another nod to the xenomorphs and aliens, because we establish in Alien 3, Ripley tells them that the Xenos are afraid of fire. So this is just another reference to that, I think. So we cut back over to Nancy's crew. They're over there in the upside down, and she's bandaging up Steve. He's got bites all over him, and she's just so thirsty. She's just kind of looking at him like she wants to crawl inside his skin and wear him as a suit. It's almost uncomfortable to watch. But anyway, she's helping him out, and he's like, oh, I'm a shirtless dude, I'm cool, I'm Steve, and you want me, and I know it. But they're like, we know that Vecna's in this house, right? We know he's there. So we've got a plan now. Like, we know where the portals are at. We know where V is. But we gotta armor up. suit up, as Captain America would say. So they go back to the real world, and they raid a local ammunition shop, and they run into Jason and the jocks there, and he's still real pissed off, and he's out for blood, and he's gonna find Eddie, and he's gonna make him pay. And but anyway, they buy a bunch of guns and a bunch of ammo and a bunch of things that for some reason the local store owners are perfectly fine selling to children. Hopper's talking to the inmates again, and he's talking to his buddy, and telling him about parenting and how hard it is, and the difficulties and whatnot. And he starts talking about miracles and some more scenes that just really tug on your heartstrings. And hats off to Hopper. Him and Max in this season, just award-winning performances. I feel like Madonna's Like a Prayer should have been playing in the background. It's about the only thing missing that would have just made this absolutely perfect. Murray and Joyce managed to break into the prison, masquerading as Russian guards, and apparently they don't really need many credentials or anything. Murray is pretending to be Yuri, right? And he's got these 2 captured prisoners with him, and they get there just in time to watch the show. They're going to watch these prisoners fight this monster. So they're up top, and Hopper and crew are down there, and Hopper whips out his lighter, and he gets like a spear, and he wraps a scarf or some shit around it and lights it on fire. So he's got a flaming spear now, and the doors open up, and the Demogorgon comes out of here, just shoots out of this thing like a bullet, and it is pissed. It comes out of here like a rabid monkey, just comes out, starts ripping people up, and it's like, whoa, we've never seen one move like this. The one in the first movie was kind of slow, kind of more like Jason, just kind of strutting, but bulletproof. We established that pretty early on. But yeah, they've all got axes and whatnot, and it's not helping them out, not one bit, because this thing's just ripping through them like a hot knife through butter. So that's going on, and we cut back over to Dustin, and he started calling the portal that they discovered the Watergate, and it's funny. And they all kind of put together why V is killing these people. Every time he kills somebody, it opens up a portal to the Upside Down. So he's doing all of this to break down the barrier between the worlds so he can get back through to our world. So back over in prison where Hopper and crew are fighting for their lives, Murray's karate kidding a bunch of guards and smacking people around, and Joyce is talking some smack, and they're like, you're gonna open these doors, you're gonna open them real good. So Nancy and crew, they've decided to when they decided to escape the Upside Down, they made it to Eddie's trailer, and to get back through that gate, it does the craziest camera work, where like down becomes up and up becomes down. They go through the portal and they fall. Like they have to climb up through the portal, but when they go through it, they fall. It's crazy. But the camera like follows them in motion, and it's trippy to watch. So we established that people that have deep-seated trauma, emotional, mental, wounds, we'll say, are easy prey for Vecna. So as everybody's climbing through the hole, Nancy gets grabbed by Vecna. And he doesn't want to kill her. He doesn't see her as a target per se, but he wants to deliver a message. So he mind powers a bunch of images and a bunch of stuff into her head, and basically lets her see his grand plan, his end game, if you will. Back at the prison, Hopper manages to fend the Demogorgon off, and they get through some doors to safety, and on the other side of the doors is Joyce, and they're reunited, and it's a touching scene, and it makes you feel things, and we're like, yay, things are great, but things aren't great. Nope, not at all. Because Demogorgon, he's still out there, and he's pissed, and he's still bulletproof. People just keep trying to shoot him, and he's like, I don't got time for it. And he's just eating everybody and clawing him up real good. Hopper and Murray and Joyce are in the I don't know, the offices of the prison, behind the scenes, seeing how the sausage is made, if you will. So they're back here, and they open up some doors, and they go back here, and they find that the Russian soldiers and doctors and scientists and all these people, they've been experimenting on the demi-dogs and the demigorgons, and they've been cutting them up, and they've been doing stuff and real gross, weird, shady stuff. And they find a big, like, aquarium with a swirling black mass inside it, and Joyce starts calling it the particles, and she says it way too many times, to the point that me and my kid, it just kind of became an inside joke. The particles, always with the particles. She talks about the particles for like a couple of episodes, and we're like, enough talking about the particles. So something that I noticed with this season, it's season 4, right? And Vecna, he's got 4 victims. He's got 4 gates. Lots of 4s being tossed around in this season. And kind of makes me think maybe they were playing with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse type of vibe. Just, you know, signify the end of the world. Maybe it's just me, but that's kind of how I felt about it. So Steve and Nancy's crew, they're all armored up, got their guns, they got their ammo, and they've all hashed out a big plan. So Steve's crew, they're going to break into the Upside Down. Max's crew, they're going to go to the It House. And they're basically going to let Nancy's crew know when Vecna is incapacitated, we'll say, because they've decided that in order to infiltrate somebody's dreams and kill them, he becomes immobile and therefore weak, vulnerable, and that's their time to strike. So Max and Lucas and Erica, Lucas's little sister, she's here too, and she's still great. They're hanging out in the It House, and they're gonna let Nancy's crew know when V is weak. So Nancy and Steve's crew, Eddie, Robin, they hop back over to the Upside Down with all their guns and fancy toys, and they make their way to V's house in the Upside Down, where he actually is. But there's another part of the plan where they need a distraction. V's house is being guarded by vampire bats, and lots of them. Lots of demi-bats. Like a cloud of swirling demi-bats. And they need those things gone, because we learned earlier that they suck. They literally suck, and they're awful. So what they're going to do is Eddie is going to cause a distraction. And the distraction is one of the greatest moments of this season, without a doubt, hands down. So Max and Lucas, they call Nancy's crew and let them know he's there. He's doing the thing. He's vulnerable. Now's your time. And so Eddie and Dustin's there with him. They're going to cause the distraction. So Eddie climbs up on top of his trailer and plugs in his guitar, and he plays Master of Puppets by Metallica, and it is awesome. It's so good. And of course, the noise, it draws the bats away from the house, so they all come to him, every single one of them, and that opens up V's house. And so Nancy and Steve and Robin, they go up in V's house, and they're going to get up there, and they're going to end this. And all the bats are on their way to Eddie's. and he finishes his awesome guitar solo just in time, and they seal it up, and the bats are there, and they're banging against the walls, and they're trying to get in, and they've got it sealed up real good. But what's this? Oh no, they forgot about the ventilation, and so the bats managed to get in through the air ducts, and there's bats in there, and it's a bad time. And so Eddie's like, Dustin, you get out of here and you get to safety. It's my time to be a hero. And so he hops on his bike and he takes off down the road, and he's going to draw all the bats away. And he gets out there and they get him, and they get him good. But he hops off his bike and he whips out a sword and a shield, and he has his true to life Dungeons and Dragons moment where he gets to be a hero. And he's fighting bats, and he's doing this and he's doing that, and they finally get him down and they eat him up real good. And Dustin comes to help him, but it's too late. Eddie, they just kind of like he picked a fight with a lawnmower and lost. But very touching scene here, death scene, or is it? We'll find out in the final season. But he looks like he dies, and Dustin's real upset about it, and us as viewers, we get upset about it too, because we've grown to love Eddie. We cut back to Nancy's crew. They're up in the house. They're in there, and they're walking around. They're being careful not to step on the vines, because we know that everything is a hive mind, and everything's connected to everything, and V can see it all. So they're creeping along, and they're trying to be safe, and Max is back in V's world, and we think that everything's fine. But guess what? Things aren't fine. She takes the headphones off, and V comes to get her, and he does. He gets her, and he gets into her nightmares, and things are going real bad, real quick. But we cut back over to 11. She's been reunited with Mike and Will and Jonathan and Argyle, I guess. He's there too. They've made it to a pizza restaurant, and they bribed the guy working there at the counter to take a hike with marijuana, of course. They're like, hey, here you go get stoned and let us ransack your store. And he's like, sure thing, bro, totally, yeah. So they yank everything out of the refrigerator. It's one of those like horizontal pizza fridges, like a deep freeze, and they yank everything out of there, and they fill it up with salt water, and they toss Elle in there just like back in season 1. Remember when they did that in the gym with the swimming pool? This is another callback. But yeah, she's gonna have a dream fight, a mind battle with Vecna. She's like, they call it the piggyback. They know that Vecna infiltrates the mind of his victim, and she's like, well, I can do that too. I can get into Max's mind, and I can protect her. And so she does that. She gets in the fridge, and she starts tripping out, and the lights start flickering and doing their thing, and that's how we know that Elle's doing her mind power stuff. And she gets into Max's mind, and Max is in there, and Vecna's giving her a hard time, and Elle shows up, and she's like, hey, you, get away from her, you bitch. And they have a whole Star Wars Force battle where they're mind powering each other, and Elle slaps him around, and he slaps her around, and he manages to get Max, and yeah, he just he does the thing. And we're like, surely it's not going to happen. Surely Elle will save the day. But he does it. He breaks Max's limbs, and her eyes start bleeding. And finally, 11, she needed a pep talk from Mike, who's like, hey, by the way, I love you. And that's all she needed to, like, activate, I guess. She needed to go Super Saiyan. So she hears that magic word, and she gets all souped up, and she smacks V around, and she throws him through the air with her mind powers, and Max falls to the ground, and she's not looking too great. He did a number on her, but 11 slaps him around in the dream world, and that weakens him. And back in the Upside Down, Nancy and Steve and Robin have made it to the attic where he's really there in the flesh, and they start hitting him with Molotovs, and Nancy shows up with her shotgun, and she fills him full of bullets, and he flies out a window like the final scene in the first Halloween movie where Dr. Loomis shoots Michael Myers a couple times in the chest, and he falls out a window. And that's 100% what this scene is. And we cut back to Max and Lucas, and this is probably one of the most touching scenes of anything I've ever seen in my life. He's just, hats off to this kid's acting. It is gut-wrenching. He is screaming for help. Max is terrified. She's like, help, I can't see, I don't want to die. And he's like, I'm here, don't leave me, and it's awful. And she dies. But Eleven is there with her, astral projecting, I guess, like telepathically, and she does that thing that Neo does to Trinity at the end of The Matrix Reloaded, where she dies, and Elle is just like, nah, you're not dead, and just kind of mind powers her back to life. But yeah, also while all that was going on, because again, with all the scene hopping, Hopper and Joyce's crew, they escaped the prison, right? They escaped. They made it back to the same deserted town with the same deserted church and the peanut butter and all of that. And they're like, okay, we're safe now. And Yuri's like, I've got a helicopter, but I gotta like put it back together. And Hopper's like, okay, cool. While you do that, me and Joyce are gonna, for no reason really, go back to the prison. And maybe if it's such a leap in logic, but it's like, we've got to give these characters something to do, because we're paying these actors and actresses to be in the show, so we've got to write them things to do into the story. It kind of felt like to me. But anyway, they're like, we're going to sneak back into the prison, and we're going to get in there, and we're going to fight the Demogorgons, and we're going to cause a distraction on our end to better Eleven's chances at saving the day for everybody back in Hawkins. Again, it's like, how do you reach that conclusion? But okay. So anyway, Hop and Joyce, they get back in there with a flamethrower, and they're fighting the monsters, and Hopper makes his way back out to the gladiator arena area, and he's got like a sword. He just has a sword, and he squares off against the Demogorgon, and he cuts its head off, and it's a whole thing. Also, there was a scene a little earlier where him and Joyce start making out, and we're like, yeah, finally. But he takes his shirt off because they're getting changed because they're gross and covered in gross, dirty, disgusting, wet clothes. So they're changing clothes, and she turns around and sees him when he takes his shirt off, and David Harbour lost so much weight. Like, dude's looking pretty good. And she's like, hey. Also, she feels really bad because he's just covered in cuts and scrapes and gashes and whip marks and all kinds of horrible stuff. But anyway, she goes over to him and they start making out, and we're like, yeah, finally. But yeah, they're back at the prison, and he cuts Demogorgon's head off, and it's a whole victory moment, and we celebrate, and we're like, yes. And all the guards are dead, so they really don't have anything to worry about on that end because they've just all been eaten. Dude gets helicopter working, so that's pretty much it for that story. The Battle of Russia, I guess we'll call it, because the whole Max and 11 and all of that stuff happens, and then we cut back to 11 and them make it back to Hawkins. Everything's terrible. because Vecna killed Max, and he did what he wanted to do. He got his 4 victims, he opened the 4 gates, and a crack starts to run from each gate right through the middle of Hawkins, and it makes just like a cross, or I guess an X, like X marks the spot. Not real sure, but they all conjoin at the clock tower from Back to the Future, and yeah, Hawkins is just, everything's on fire and smoking, and of course the news media is calling it an earthquake, but we know the truth. That's no earthquake. Things are real bad. But yeah, Nancy and them, they lit Vecna on fire. They shot him a bunch. He fell out a window. They run down there to find his dead body, and he's not there. He pulled a straight up Michael Myers. He's just gone. The body's gone. So we're like, well, he's 100% still alive. So 11 and Mike and Will and Jonathan and Argyle all make it back to Hawkins, and they reunite with Dustin, and he tells them what happened, and he takes them all to the hospital to see Max, and Lucas is there with her, and she's in a coma, and it sucks. And like 11 brought her back to life, kind of, technically, I guess, but she's in a coma and things aren't great. Hawkins is on fire. So they bounce back to Hopper's cabin, and they're kind of putting it back together because it's still in pieces from the fight with the meat slayer from season 3. So they're doing that, and then Hopper and Joyce get there, and there's just another heartwarming, just unbelievably touching scene between Hopper and 11, where they just, their father-daughter chemistry just makes me ugly cry every time. Every single time. But they're just so cute together, and I just love it. But we get that scene, and they all walk outside, and Will does that thing he does where he grabs his neck, and when he does that, we know bad stuff's happening. And it starts to like snow ash, like straight out of Silent Hill, and they all start walking downhill to look at Hawkins, and there's just billowing pillars of smoke and fire and ash looking like volcanoes coming up, and there's like 5 of them, I think. Maybe I'm imagining that, but I think there's 5 of them, and I think that's like foreshadowing for season 5 maybe. But it looks like a scene straight out of Lord of the Rings, where Frodo and crew are looking at Mount Doom, and they're looking at Mordor, and they're like, oh, we gotta go there? That sucks. And that's 100% what this feels like. So we end with crew and 11 just looking at the fight ahead, and roll credits. And that's season 5. Also, there was a very touching scene with Dustin where he runs into Eddie's uncle. Eddie's uncle is looking for Eddie, who's missing. And Dustin has a scene with him that will definitely make you cry if you have a heart, where he's like, I was with him in the end, and he was a hero. He saved us all. And I just felt you should know that. And it's a beautiful scene. Definitely, like I said, if you have a soul, you'll feel things. But yeah, that's it. That's season 4 of Stranger Things. It's something. They go all over the place. They do all kinds of stuff. I feel like they did too much. Like I said, I think it's too busy. There's too much going on. There's way too much scene hopping, and the hops that we make happen way too quickly and way too often. And some of the stuff we didn't need. We could have cut half the characters out, and I think the story might have even been better for it. We could have concentrated on the things that mattered. But yeah, it's good though. It's definitely better than season 3. That's why my ranking goes seasons 2, 1, 4, 3. 2 will always be my favorite just because of Halloween and the Hopper 11 relationship and the parent butting heads with the kid, the preteen kid, and just all of that. I just connect with it so much. So season 2 will always be my favorite. But yeah, that brings it to a close for now. Like I said, final season right around the corner, and I'll do it in 3 parts, just like they're doing the show in 3 parts, and we'll tie this thing up, put a nice neat little bow on it, pack it away, and be done. And then we'll move on to my next spoiler cast and review. But that's going to do it for now. As always, thanks for stopping by and watching this. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. If you want to hang out for a second, there will be some thumbnails pop up in the corners of the screen. That's other stuff that I do. If you want to check any of it out, those things will be right there for you. Be sure and like, share, and subscribe if you haven't yet. Come back and join me for the finale. And until then, we'll catch you later.